Hey, it's Cole here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going over the NFC East Division predictions. And by the end of this video, I will give you the order of how I think the NFC East Division will end up being, who I think will win the division, who I end up think will lose the division. So let's get up with the first team, the New York Giants. So to start with the New York Giants, new era. With their head coaching, their GM. They brought in Brian Schoen, I think that's how you say it. It might be Sean, I don't know. Their new GM from the Buffalo Bills. Then they bring in head coach Brian Daboll, also from the Buffalo Bills, so stealing some of the crops there from the Buffalo Bills. And obviously, I think that makes a lot of sense. Buffalo Bills recently have been able to do a lot of great things, obviously, and build up with Josh Allen and all these other pieces. And I mean, who wouldn't want to take their offense coordinator, their assistant GM, and see after seeing what they've been doing the last few years and building up into be one of the top teams in the NFL. So great hirings there from the New York Giants. And then going into their free agency, not really doing too much. They signed Tyrod Taylor, Ricky Seals-Jones, and that was pretty much it. Uneventful free agency overall with bringing players in. They did lose some players. They did release some players, like Logan Ryan, early on in free agency, and obviously later on in the offseason, they let go of James Bradberry, who obviously signed with the Eagles, who we'll obviously talk about a little later in this video. And so, obviously, uneventful free agency, but obviously they weren't really making that many trades or that many signings because, I mean, they didn't really need to. They were still a rebuilding team, and where they really need to make their hits, their big moves was in the draft, and that's what they did. Their top 10 picks, their two top 10 picks, Kayvon Thibodeaux with that fourth pick, one of the picks there, and then a few picks later they got Evan Neal, tackle. And those were great picks. I think Kayvon Thibodeaux, at the end of the day, will be the best edge rusher in this draft class. If I had the number one pick, I would have picked Kayvon Thibodeaux, not because he was the best edge rusher now. I just think the potential is unlimited when it comes to him. And then Evan Neal, absolutely a beast at tackle. One of the top three tackles in this NFL draft, and obviously pairing him up next to Andrew Thomas. Absolutely amazing. And really building up that offensive line that they have there in New York to really help Daniel Jones this next season and whoever possibly could come in the future if Daniel Jones was not to work out. And then after that, the draft, it didn't seem to be that eventful. I mean, they got some good other depth pieces, but I didn't like too many other picks. I liked the Bellinger pick, but nothing gonna really stand out. And you know, but the two first round picks, you gotta hit on those, and I think you did hit on those. Now let's talk about the team. Obviously, offensively, Daniel Jones, it's a make or break year for him. I know he was injured last year, but they declined his fifth-year option, and it's really just a make or break year, especially with the quarterbacks that are in this year's NFL draft. So we'll see what happens with him going into this season. Saquon, we'll see what happens with him with the injury concerns that he does have, and a better offensive line. So we'll see, does that help him out this coming season? And the receiving core, it didn't seem to get better. They did draft a receiver from Kentucky, and I think everybody, once they drafted him, they were like, the Canaries Tony trade was going to be made, but they still have him, and they're saying they want to still have him, but that whole thing is confusing. Are they going to trade him? Are they not? Does he want to be on the team? Does he not want to be on the team? And then, obviously, the offensive line, I think, is looking better and better, especially at the two tackle positions. The inside, the interior could be better. It could be better for sure. Going into defense, this is where it gets exciting for the future with some of their young prospects. But overall, it's still not that good. Obviously, Kayvon Thibodeaux, absolutely amazing. Can't wait to see him next year. And then I really like Leonard Williams. He's not the future guy. I think he's about 28. Maybe he's around there, just around 30. So he's not going to be there for long. Probably leaves when he can. And then I really like Dexter Williams. They did extend his fifth-year option, so that's one thing. And I really can't wait to see Dexter Williams. And then obviously Xavier McKinney could be a underrated safety going into the next season. So we'll see what happens with him. But overall, I really like the youth on this defense and some of their youthful prospects that they really do have. And overall, it's not a bad season, not a bad team I think they're going to have. But overall, I think it's going to be 6-3 wins that they can finish with. And I'll say a team now, I think they're going to finish last in the division. It's going to be a race between all the last three teams I'll be talking about here today for that number one spot. So let's go ahead and let's get into the next team, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think they have a chance to possibly win the division this year. So let's talk about their offseason and talk about their whole team as a whole. Obviously, free agency, they actually made some good moves. I like their Hassan Reddick move. The Kaiser White move wasn't bad. Fixing their linebacking position just a little bit there. And then they redid Fletcher contract a little bit. And they had a few more signings here and there. Not a bad offseason right there in the free agency. And then obviously they went and got Bradbury after the Giants went ahead and released them later in the offseason. So let's talk about the infamous draft night for the Eagles and possibly draft nights, because I will get into day 2 for them just a little bit. So let's talk about their first pick. Well, they went into the draft night having 3 first-round picks, which really good, obviously, from last year's trading. And with their first pick, they traded up and they selected Jordan Davis. This was a great pick. Helps their defensive line, because their defensive line, at least in the interior, is getting a lot older. Jordan Davis is an absolute beast of a player. If he could stay a little bit more healthier, if he can slim down just a little bit, his stamina, if it's good, and he can stay on the field just a little bit longer than he could in college, I think this could be a really good draft pick. But even if his play snaps stay the same as it did in college, this is a really good pick. Jordan Davis, absolute beast in the middle of defensive line. If you were on the goal line, he's on that goal line every single play. 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, 2nd and 1. He's on the field. And then later in that draft, they trade for A.J. Brown from Tennessee Titans. Titans couldn't get a deal done, so they trade him away to the Eagles. Get a contract done pretty quickly, and now he's going to be Eagle paired up next to Devontae Smith. Now that receiving core is looking even better, we'll touch up to that just a little bit later. And then day 2, Nakobe Dean seems to fall, and maybe it's because of injury, maybe it's because of some other things. And then they picked him up. And I couldn't be mad. Me personally, I'm a Commander fan. I was pissed. I'm like, how did he fall that far? And why did the Eagles get him? Okay, why did this happen to us? I wanted Nakobe Dean. If anything, I wanted him with our 2nd round pick. But this was a great offseason. So this was a great offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles in crew. And I can't wait to see what they can do and put everything on the field and just go out and play. So let's talk about the team. Obviously, quarterback Jalen Hurts. I wouldn't say this is a make or break year, but say they get a top 10 pick, they could look for his replacement, which I think is possibly possible, again, if they get a top 10 pick, because they were really bad. The receivers, man, they are not bad at all. Obviously, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they're like 1A, 1B. They're both number 1 receivers. I don't think they're number 2 receivers. After that, it does fall off a little bit. They have a number 3 receiver, but it's not that good of a number 3 receiver. I know they have Zach Pascal, I think. I don't really know who else they really have. J.J. Whiteside, I still think is on the team. It's really not that pretty. It's also their reject receivers that they've drafted in the past that are still on this receiving core. And then the offensive line, it's clear. It's just a really good offensive line like they have had for the last few seasons. Defense. Their defensive line, that's looking good. That is looking good with Fletcher Cox, obviously now Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, and some, obviously some other guys. They're veterans, and some of their younger guys who are just developing. This is so far a great defensive line. And then Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Obviously, I think Darius Slay, you could say he's a top 10 cornerback in the league. James Bradbury, I don't think he's as good as he once was coming into with the Giants, or obviously his, you could say, prime with the Panthers, you could say, but he's still a good cornerback. I think he's a good cornerback too, and I think this is a great pickup for the Eagles, and I think their secondary is not too bad, but it could be better. I think their safeties overall could be better, but I do like the cornerbacks. But I think, say one of them does go down, it could be better for the backups. But we'll see what happens. Eagles, Not bad. I think they could finish to 11-9 wins. That's not bad. That's not bad for the Eagles, and they have a chance to win the division this year. I do believe that. So let's go to our next team I have down, and it's my Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are a very interesting team. They're my favorite team, so hopefully you don't see any bias out of me, but we'll see when this is all said and done. Let's talk about free agency in their offseason. They let Brandon Sheriff go. He went to the Jaguars. And then they released some players, Landon Collins, Matthew Ioannidis, and Eric Flowers. I think that was like all in one day, if I'm not mistaken. So they had to go ahead and free up some cap space, but obviously it was all worth it in the end. We'll get to that a little later. And then obviously they traded for Carson Wentz, and I think the trade was overhated at first. I think there could have been some more moves and more details that would have made it a lot better. But I think it wasn't as bad as people will say it was. But for the most part, I think it was a fine trade for both sides. And I think Wentz is put in a good situation too. We'll get to that a little later. And then went ahead, we signed Andrew Norwell at offensive guard and Trey Turner. And that kind of fills the void at Brandon Sheriff. You could say that you would rather have Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner than Brandon Sheriff than with what you're paying Brandon Sheriff, but that could be debated. And then we re-signed some players, and obviously recently we re-signed Terry McLaurin to a big 3-year deal, which is obviously huge. I think that's why you cut Landon Collins. That was the main guy who obviously was taking up so much cap. You let Brandon Sheriff walk. You weren't going to pay him that big deal, so you had some more cap space, with that. So obviously big signing, re-signing. He says he wants to be here, and man, this was actually absolute huge win for the Washington Commanders to really bring back Terry McLaurin, a homegrown talent that they drafted 3rd round 2019. And then let's talk about the draft this year. So to start, they traded down with the Saints to the 16th pick, and they got some picks later that we will talk about. And they drafted Jahan Dotson with that 16th pick, receiver from Penn State. And this is just making this a better receiving core. I think if everybody stays healthy, this is a really good receiving core, and I can touch on this a little bit later when we talk about the team overall. And then 2nd round on day 2 in general, drafted Fedarian Mathis, defensive tackle, that overall I think soon could be that number 2 next to Jonathan Allen. And then Brian Robinson Jr., running back, also out of Alabama. And then day 3, Washington selected Sam Howell in the 5th round. That was all help with the Saints trade. And I'm surprised he fell down that far. I think a lot of people were. And, hey, I mean, it is what it is with everything like that. But I think maybe they see something in Sam Howell. Obviously, a 5th round pick can't hurt anybody with a quarterback that you can go ahead and help develop. But we'll see. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. Maybe Sam Howell isn't the future. Obviously, a lot of other teams didn't see him as a franchise quarterback, but we'll see at the end of the day. Now let's talk about the team. Wentz and a solid offensive core. I think this is one of the best, if not the best, offenses he's ever been a part of. Maybe even better than the year they went out and the Eagles won a Super Bowl. Terry McLaurin, probably better than any receiver he had that year. I really love Curtis Samuel when he stays healthy. Jahan Dotson, this offensive line is great. Maybe not as good as the Eagles offensive line, but it's still solid. The running back core is better. The tight end core, once Logan Thomas is back healthy, everything is nice. If Carson Wentz should just stay calm, just be a normal quarterback. Can he just be a normal quarterback? I'm not asking him to go back to his possible MVP year. I'm just needing him to go back to normal quarterback Carson Wentz. That's all I'm asking him to do, and that's all he needs to do. Obviously, take risk. That's a part of your job is to take risk as a quarterback. You see that with Patrick Mahomes. You see that with Josh Allen. They're gonna take risk, and sometimes it will backfire. But if you don't take risks and you're always safe, you might get to the wild card. We saw that with Alex Smith, but you're not gonna get too far. So we'll see what happens. I think this is going to be a solid offense with Carson Wentz. And into the defense, obviously, this front 7, I think it's going to be better than ever. Obviously, hopefully Chase Young is better than ever as he gets back from his ACL injury. But this interior offensive line with Jonathan Allen and then obviously Deron Payne, absolutely amazing. I love Montez Sweat. I think he's a little underrated. I think he can have a really, really good season. Linebacker core, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, Jamin Davis, hopefully he can develop. I like Holcomb, but then when one of your starters is, I think David Mayo, that's not good. I don't know what Ron Rivera is doing. Get a veteran linebacker. Get a veteran linebacker, please. But then Cam Curl. I really like Cam Curl. I like the secondary. It developed, and I think if it looks better, I think it can look better. I like obviously William Jackson. I like Kendall Fuller. They're not bad cornerbacks, but I don't know what happened to them last year. They got burnt a lot. They just didn't seem to have that good season last year. They had some good plays. They had some good games. But I do think Cam Curl is going into his own player, and I think he can be a really underrated safety. I think people will start knowing his name soon. William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, honestly, they just need to hold their ground and be the cornerbacks that they have been throughout their whole career. And we'll see what happens there with the Washington Commanders. And let's get to the final team, and then we'll go over my order for the NFC East Division. Oh, one more thing, I have the Commanders. 11-8 wins this season. 11-8 wins this season. Dallas Cowboys won the division last year, and they could go back to back. Do I think they will? You'll see at the end of this video, but obviously we got to take account the streak that's been going for the NFC East. No team has won back-to-back in the division, won back-to-back division titles since 2005 or something like that for the Eagles? It's been a while, but let's talk about this team. Let's talk about their offseason, talk about their team and how many wins I think they can get. So for agency, it was interesting. It was very interesting. They traded Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns for very little. And then they released La'el Collins, and he went to the Bengals. And they lost the Randy Gregory bidding wars to the Broncos. So that's 3 big pieces from their team from last year that they just lost. And really they didn't gain much. They gained a 5th and a 6th from the Amari Cooper trade, and that's it. And they lost 3 big pieces to their team. And they didn't do too much in free agency. I mean, they lost Cedric Wilson. That's a big loss. I know they got James Washington, but that's not much. It's not really, whatever. It's James Washington. But the draft, it was okay, I guess. They drafted Tyler Smith in the first round, the play tackle or guard from, I think, Tulsa. This wasn't a good pick. It wasn't. A little overdrafted, if we're being completely honest. And, I don't know what the Cowboys were doing. I don't know what Jerry Jones was doing. He held up his draft board. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, why is this man still the owner? Or why is this man involved in the football operations or the football aspects of the team? Just let the man bring in the money for the team, and that's it. But whatever. I'm not mad. Whatever. If he can mess up the team somehow, let him do it. And then in the 3rd round, they drafted Jalen Tolbert. I think he's overrated, but people like him. He's looking to possibly start at the start of the season this year. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe he's the 3rd receiver. Maybe he's coming out the slot. So, again, there's not too much to talk about here from the Cowboys this offseason. And we're pretty much getting the same team from last year, except some key losses from this team. And it's very, very interesting from the Dallas Cowboys. So let's talk about this team. Dak Prescott. He says he's better than ever, but, is he? Obviously he had some injury concerns coming back from that big, ankle injury overall. And I don't know. Can we believe him? We'll have to see and watch him play. Then obviously Zeke. Is he Zeke once again? Who knows? Didn't look very good last year. But it's hard to see him become a great a top 5 running back. He can be a top 10, possibly a top 15 running back. But with the money they're paying him, oh man, it doesn't look good. But I do like the receiving core. CD, or at least their top 2 receivers. I like CD Lamb, obviously. Gallup, I like that. I would rather have Amari Cooper, but Gallup works. Gallup works for sure. And their defense, I think, is really interesting to talk about. I think they have an underwhelming defensive line. Other than DeMarcus Lawrence, it doesn't stand out to me, but it makes everything, everything is made up because of Micah Parsons. Okay, Micah Parsons is the thing that makes this defense go. And he's an absolute monster. And I'm like, how did he go to the Cowboys? Why did he go to the Cowboys? Why couldn't the Broncos draft him? Why couldn't any team before him draft him? Micah Parsons is a beast, and I can't deny that. I mean, I can't. It's just frustrating that the Cowboys have him. But Micah Parsons, obviously, beast, rookie of the year. And he's obviously, I think, going to just get better and better for these next few years. And he's just really going to help out the Cowboys. And then let's talk about the secondary for the Cowboys. It's not that good. I mean, Trevon Diggs, he's going to be better, but he's a little overrated. Just a tiny bit overrated. But I think he's also a little overhated. He's overrated, if that makes any sense. He's overhated for the wrong things, I guess. If that makes sense. He's hated for the wrong things. That what makes him overhated, I guess, in my eyes. And then I really do like Jaron Kearse. I think he's a little underrated, actually. And the secondary, it's not that good. I'm not that impressed with this Cowboys roster, if we're being completely honest. If they had Amari Cooper, La'el Collins, and Randy Gregory, I would be like, hey, this team is good. But I think it's still the Cowboys. And they won the division last year, and I think that they can go out and win 11-8 games and possibly win the division this year. I think that's possible. Will they, though? Who knows? So let's go ahead and get to my record or division predictions in order. So let's get with fourth place. I think it's no doubt. I do have the Giants. I mean, it's not that of a debate. I think I've already said that in the video. I could be wrong though. The Giants, they're rebuilding, and I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you can't hate it. I would rather be last if I was a Giants fan. Better draft pick, higher draft pick, and with your rebuilding. Now, the third team in the NFC East, I think, is the Cowboys. I mean, looking at everything, I just don't see them repeating, and that's going to continue the streak of teams not being back-to-back champs here in the NFC East. And they could make the playoffs. They could not. This could be they could not. Who knows? But in this situation, I don't think they do. But maybe that's just me hating. Second, I got the Commanders. I think they make the playoffs. That could be my bias. Hey, throw it at me in the comments. At least be respectful. Let's have some dialogue here. But Commanders, I just think that they're gonna get things right. I think things are gonna click. I think this offense is gonna work things out. I think Carson Wentz is gonna have a good season. I think people are gonna stay healthy, and say like Curtis Samuel, he's gonna be such a bigger impact than what people realized, because obviously he barely played last year, and people forgot how good of a player he was on the Carolina Panthers. And then the number one team, Philadelphia Eagles, I think they're winning the division. They're a good team, man. They are a good team offensively and defensively. That offensive line is really going to help out Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders. Offensively, receiving-wise, that's a good receiving core with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Defensively, it's nice too. I really like their defensive line. Cornerbacks, James Bradbury, Darius Slay. It's a great defense. It's a great defense as well. And I think the Eagles just overall have the best team in this entire division, and that's why I think they'll win this division right here. So if you guys enjoyed my division predictions, go ahead and leave a comment. Who do you want to see next? Because, hey, I'm making my next one pretty quick. I'm writing down my notes already, and hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.